Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do a DIY Dollar Tree Farmhouse Tips and Dupes number 10. We're going to duplicate this lighted jute rope. Now I found this lighted jute rope originally at Walmart, and I'll show you that at the end. But when I went to go search it, they had some for a mega amount of dollars. Like this one is from Etsy, and it's well, that one's not from Etsy. That one's from Wayfair for $20. And it doesn't tell you the length of it either. But then a lady had them on Etsy, and she had them for like $60 plus $35 shipping and handling, and they are various lengths. And hers had the timer, so we'll touch that in a minute. But we're going to make this for nowhere near that amount of money. But the original place I saw it as Walmart, and you can see there, now they have it on clearance at Walmart, and I actually bought one yesterday for $4. I found it in the clearance section. It was originally in the wedding section. And we're going to make it for even less. The one at Walmart was only 6 feet, but we're going to make it for even less than $4. And we're going to use the nautical rope that you get from the Dollar Tree, as well as twinkle lights. Now for one, we're going to use these $5.99 Philips brand twinkle lights that were gifted to me. Thank you, Minerva. And then we're going to use 2 of the copper twinkle lights from the Dollar Tree for the other one. So I could show you both variations. Then we're also going to use our glue gun, glue sticks, and don't forget a little bit of jute. We're going to need some jute as well, and a scissor. You know, I didn't include batteries in my original list of things that you need because they weren't included in any of the items that were purchased. You always had batteries not included on them, so I didn't include it on my list. But of course, you're going to need batteries. The first, we're going to start with this one that was gifted to me from a lovely subscriber. It is 9 feet. You get 30 soft white lights, and it has a timer on it. So this is most closely related to the one from the Etsy shop. It does have a timer. I think it's a 8-hour timer. I think it shuts off after 8 hours. It takes 3 batteries, and like I said, it's 9 feet long. So we're going to start off very simply by connecting them on the ends. This really seems like a really simple project, but I have a couple of tips and tricks in here that will help. And I think that this is very, very farmhouse. Again, it was sold in the wedding section, so if you're of a rustic country wedding, definitely way to go. I love it for my tree. I can't wait to put it on my tree at Christmas. But I also love it just, as you saw, I decorated with my mantle, and I just loved it. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the rope lights with the battery pack coming out at the end of the rope. And then we're going to take a piece of jute that's about, I don't know, 6 or 8 inches long. We're going to fold it in half. We're going to put the bend towards the inside of our hand. I'm a righty, so I'm starting with the left side of the string. And I have the loop, the fold bend going towards in my hand. And then I'm just starting to wrap around itself. I'm going to start, basically, I'm going to start with a little tail, and I make sure that I wrap the tail under right away. And we've done this technique before. I told you my dad used to make fishing lures and fishing poles, and this was the technique that he taught me. Basically, we're going to bury our end. That's what the loop is for. So once we're done wrapping it, and I've wrapped it up twice. I started near the loop, I went all the way to the end and then back. And then I take the very end and I stick it inside the loop, the very end of the piece that I just cut off. And then what you want to do is, I cut myself quite a bit of slack because I'm going to slowly pull the 2 ends of the looped string back through. So basically it's pulling the end of the wrapped piece back through underneath all of the wrapped area. And that's really what's going to secure it. And then what we're going to do is, I pulled the extra string out while there's a tiny loop, and I'm using my scissor to gently pull it out because this is going to be the loop that we hang it by. And I'm just adding a little bit of hot glue at the end to secure that loop so it doesn't get pulled out. Like if anybody accidentally tugged on the rope, it wouldn't pull the loop out and the hanger. Okay? And waiting for glue to dry. The rest is going to seem fairly easy, but I said I'm going to show you another tip to make it a little bit more secure and to also actually make it better than the original, because the original was just basically it wrapped around. And if you had gathered up the rope, the wire would be loose. And I think I showed it to you in one of the sample pictures that the wire was not always securely snug to the rope. But where we're going to teach you how to do it is we're just going to wrap it a few times. We're going to twist open a section of the rope and we're going to pull all the string lights through. It is more difficult on this particular set because it is 9 feet long. The sets from the Dollar Tree are only 4.3 feet long. So you're having to pull a little bit more string lights, but with little patience, it really does come through quite easily. And then once you have it through, the wire is so thin that when you twist the rope back, you barely notice. Actually, you don't notice any bump at all. And then it's going to keep that secure. So this thing can blow away in the wind, and the wire will stay twisted in and around this rope. And because this one is so long, I'm going to have that process. We're going to do it 3 times. Now, I found it much easier to work this project, plus for the camera, with the lights on. Because then I was able to see, like, was I evenly distributing the lights on both sides of the rope, if that's the look you're going for, if you're trying to line all the lights up on one side of the rope, if that's the look you're going for. But basically what I did was, wherever a light landed, I made sure that the wire between the sections of the light wrapped around at least 2 times, and then the wire came back around to the front. All right. And like I said, I'm going to repeat that process of weaving the cord through. Now, the way I did mine was I started with the battery pack, and then I wrapped the entire lights around the rope. But you see there, I took a second to bundle it up in my hand, so it made it a little bit easier to go around. But then it creates knots, so just be careful. But it's okay. This is very forgiving. It's a very forgiving project. Now, this is, like I said, I want to put this on my Christmas tree. I have it currently on my mantle. I found or thought of like a dozen ways to decorate with it. I actually had this on a screenshot from last year's Christmas DIYs that I was going to do it for you last year. But of course, if you've been around a while, you know I had a little trouble finding the nautical rope. Now I'm finding it in excess, so I'm hoping you guys can find it too. But don't forget, they do sell rope very similar to it. It's jute rope at Walmart, for $4.97 that you get like a ton of it. So keep that in mind if you can't find nautical rope as well. Okay? And now we're going to get close to finishing it off. And to finish it off, we're going to do the exact same thing except in the other direction. We're going to start, I'm going to pin the end of this. This particular set from Philips has a little wire at the end of the light, the last light. The one from the Dollar Tree does not really, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So at the end of this rope, I'm just going to use that same method to wrap around the end, and we're going to catch that piece of the wire on the other side of the light. All right. So the same thing, and if you accidentally pull the rope through, which I have done, I'm just taking like my my little thin little what is this? A screwdriver. Sorry, you could use like a toothpick or something. And I'm using it to push the jute back through underneath to. Then I'm going to secure it with a little hot glue like we did before, so that it doesn't accidentally happen again. But we're going to do the same thing. We fold the string in half, wrap it around both directions. I tried to keep it as neat as possible, but you guys do you. Cut off the rope. Whenever you cut this rope, it's best to wrap tape around the end, and then je suis fini. And like I said, this one has an 8-hour timer. The one from the Dollar Tree is just, you have to turn it on and off, okay? Now, again, here's where we're going to start. I wanted to let you also know that I picked specifically the copper corded wire for this because I thought it blended into the jute rope the best. Basically, I feel like it disappeared. If I would have used the silver, I kind of feel like it would have made like a little glittery silver string going through it. But these ones from the Dollar Tree have a screw that you have to open the battery pack with. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them. They do have different ones out at Christmas now. They're just a tiny bit different, but they will work as well. You just have to be mindful of how long they are and how long you get the rope to be. Like I said, these ones are only 4.3 inches long, so that's why we're making one rope with two ends. It's going to have battery pack on both ends. And I think this one ended up being about 6 feet. I think the other one was 7.5 feet, and this one was about 5.5 feet because it's 13 feet of jute rope. So even though they're each 4.3, when you wrap it around the cord, it does shrink them up a little bit. So this one ended up being about 5.5 feet long when all was said and done. All right, plus the 4.3 feet they include is the cord to the battery pack to the end of the first light, but we're not actually using that length. Okay, so we're going to repeat the same process when we're going to fold the cord in half, hold the cord towards the right hand or away from the end of the rope. The end of the folded piece of jute goes towards the end of the rope, and then you wrap it starting at the fold, wrap it towards the end, and then back towards the fold, tuck and pull through. Now we're doing the same exact thing with this set of rope lights. The one thing that I do want to point out that's different is how I'm going to not connect them in the middle, but I'm going to show you how I end one and start the next one. And the other thing that is different with this one is because we're starting the second rope light in the middle of the rope, when we go to feed the wire through, we're actually going to feed that battery pack through. And I want to show you that it will fit. I will show you that for sure. But when you get to the end, what we're going to end up doing is doing the same process where we twist the rope open. What we're going to do is we're kind of going to just tuck the light in the space. Now, I chose not to glue it down at any point, but if you feel more comfortable gluing down that very end once you've tucked it in that rope, you can. That's entirely optional. These lights don't get hot enough to melt the hot glue. They are LED lights. They stay very cool to the touch, so you don't have to worry about any fire hazards or anything of the sort. So if you feel more confident gluing them down, you can. But this method is super easy. So we'll just twist it open and we're going to stick that last light in. And the light sort of has like where it lays on the wire, and then it bumps up, almost like a mouse under a rug. And the mouse under the rug is gonna peek out inside the rope. I don't know how else to describe it. But then I'm going to start the next one the exact same way, except I'm leaving a space. So I kind of looked at how my lights were, and I saw that each one was, say, 2 inches between lights. I kind of left a space of about the same 2 inches before I started the next set of lights. And we're just going to continue to wrap and wrap and wrap. But I told you, so once we go to tuck in or through the rope, we're going to end up tucking through that battery pack. So here, I'll show you here in a second. But before I do, I wanted to just tell you that be mindful of the way that you put the battery pack in, or even when you put the ropes in. Make sure it's going to continue to go in the same direction. Okay, and we basically just twisted it open big enough for the battery pack to fit through, pulled the rest of the core of the wire lights through, and then just continued on. Now this, we didn't end up using the entire 13 feet of rope. There is about 5 inches left. Actually, I didn't measure it ahead of time. It says it's 13 feet, but a lot of times they're not 100% accurate with their measurements. But I did measure that the original, not the original, but the first rope light did come to 7.5 feet. So I just assumed this was 5.5 feet. But I shouldn't have, because there was a piece left over. And then we're just going to close off the end the same way as we did before. Be mindful again that you don't cut your wire when you're cutting your string, but that's kind of a pretty obvious kind of thing. I think I told you guys. And wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. It seems like there's an easier way to do this. Like if I would have cut the string, the jute, and maybe had wasted a little bit of the jute, you could have just wrapped the jute around. Like if you had just a piece that you had cut off. I left it on the roll because I wanted to make sure I had enough. I didn't want to make myself short, basically. Okay. But you won't have to worry about wrapping around the battery pack that way if you cut your jute, okay? And then we're going to close it the same way, and we're going to very carefully pull the rope through before we glue it. All right. Create our little hanger as well. And that's it. So, like I said, I saw these last year. They're on clearance this year. They'll be great for country weddings, any farmhouse decor. A little twinkle lights and jute rope is so totally farmhouse. So I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions at all, any at all, leave them in the comments down below. If you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And I hope you guys are really enjoying this series. I know it's getting ready to come to a close. We only have a few more things to touch on. But if you know anybody who's interested, please share with friends and family. Anybody you know wants to incorporate any or all of these farmhouse tips into their decor. And as always, you take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Bye.